You are listening to Proof Text, a Glossa House podcast exploring Scripture and all things related to it. New episodes are released daily. For more information, check out glossahouse.com and subscribe to our channels on Spotify and YouTube. Welcome and enjoy.
Hello, welcome back to Constituent Marking with Fred Long on Proof Text. And this is Fred Long. Yeah, I hope that you're enjoying this constituent marking as we're working through the love chapter of 1 Corinthians 13. And we're reaching a flourishing point right here, although Paul has been in a rhetorical flourish, defining love. Love as an action. Love positively, love negatively. And we're going to see in verse 7 here, 13:7 today, that there is a final kind of rhetorical flourish. And I know that because of the punchiness of what Paul says and the repetition with the word panta, 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 panta. Panta stegi, panta pistevi, panta elpidzi, panta upomeni. So I think you could hear the repetition of the panta, 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 and then also the e. The e is the epsilon iota of the verbs stegi, pistevi, elpidzi, upomeni. So panta in each of these instances is double underlined. Panta. This is from pas upon. These are the direct objects of these verbs, and each of them is fronted for effect. So there really is just simply a nice pattern here: A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B. So this pattern, this is produces an oral impact. Panta means all, right? So all things. It's a neuter accusative plural in this context, and endures all things. So stegi. Let's look at these verbs. Each of them is single underline. So stegi, pistevi, elpidzi, upomeni. They're each single underline. I'll cut off the ending. They're all present, active, indicative, third singular. And I've learned something looking at these verbs. So love, typically it's understood endures all things. Love believes all things or trusts all things. Love hopes all things. Love endures all things. Now, let's look at stegi, though. Stegi is from stego. And interestingly, we often think of it in a more limited sense to be looking at things like to endure. But in fact, it can also mean like protect or, protect and cover. So it has a different kind of sense when we go to the broader literature. So bears all things is typically how it's translated, but if we go to the classical lexicon, LSJ, Liddell Scott Jones, it means to cover closely, keep out of water, fend off, repel, later to bear up, sustain, support. But basically, the second definition there is to contain or hold. Third definition is shelter or protect. So there could be a sense that this verb, the first start of verse 7, is not simply like not bearing everything, but maybe sheltering like a protective kind of sense. And that's rather interesting to think about, that this verb might have to do more with like protecting, possibly. Yeah, so there's a little bit of ambiguity here as to what this verb means. And, both of those could be seen kind of, positively as attributes for the verb love. Yeah, stego here, used here. I should say that BDAG has as its first definitions for stego, one, to keep confidential, cover, pass over in silence. Okay, so this is a sense that could be applicable to what love is. Like it's not showcasing things, whatever kind of things those could be. The second definition that our main lexicon for the New Testament, BDAG, says is to bear up against difficulties, bear, stand, endure. So what is it? To keep confidential or to bear up? I don't know. But both of those are interesting. The second thing that Paul says in verse 7, though, is that it pistevi, it trusts all things or believes. And obviously he's not meaning like undiscerningly believes, but maybe the panta here, rather than being a direct object, maybe we were looking at a different use of the panta. Maybe in each of these cases, it's in respect to, so I'm putting curly braces here. Special case uses, if you go down to the bottom right of the legend, special case uses are like accusative of time, genitive of, whatever, respect. So what if these are indeed accusative of respect? With respect to all things, it protects. With respect to all things, it is faithful, or it trusts. That, in other words, that God will work things out. Perhaps that's what it means. With respect to all things, it hopes. Respect to all things, it endures under. Yeah. So these are just different ways maybe to conceptualize how the panta is functioning. It may be functioning as like accusative of reference. Or another way that it could be functioning is adverbally, entirely. So it entirely, love entirely conceals or protects. It entirely trusts. It entirely hopes. It entirely endures under. So I'm actually liking those understandings of what Paul could be saying here. And of course, part of why we do this constituent marking is to ask questions. And it helps us to think about the text. So, it's good to wonder what is going on here. And it's worth thinking about. Well, I hope you found this helpful as we're working through 1 Corinthians 13 and thinking about a very important topic, love.
Interested in growing your ancient language skills but not sure where to start? Glossa House can help. From illustrated readers and short stories to lexicons and grammars, Glossa House offers a variety of resources for beginning, intermediate, and experienced ancient language learners. Head to glossahouse.com today. Glossa House, language resources for the global community.